Phil, you're
Oh,
always
my.
so upbeat and happy with your little tune.
Yes,
I get enjoyment. I look forward to that every Friday. I
Yeah.
really truly do.
as well you
know?
should. As
It's
well, you should.
long week, long weeks, and you get to
Yeah.
the EV show, and you're like, it's a little calming. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Come relax with Phil on
Yeah.
That's
every
it.
Friday.
Yeah.
We should just rename it Relax with Phil.
You know what?
We should.
I did notice the only thing missing from the piano, a tip jar.
We need one.
Well, we get all of the tips we can use right here in the comment section.
Okay, that's
Yes,
true.
correct.
That's true. That's true.
Actually, our comment sections are always very nice.
Well, we try to hopefully keep it that way.
Yes.
Well, what's funny is because what we're talking about today is civil discourse and how to. Things have gotten a little out of whack lately, last few years in particular. But I'm starting to see it raise again. We saw it on yesterday's live show with Ray and Zach in the comments. It's been a long time since I had to delete that many comments or ban people from the show. And I don't usually do that. I like to. This is a show I've never deleted comments on. Just say what you want because we're a debate show. Right?
Yes,
That's what we do. And
Yep.
I know you guys know I'm a really big free speech proponent. You say Ray likes more controls on that even than I do. I'm always but there is something to be said for private companies can do what they want. And on our normal YouTube channel, the Ray and Zach show or the CarEdge channel, when we go live, like I try to keep that friendly in there. We're talking about auto. We're talking about, and once you start calling each other names, like why are you? And I don't understand that. I don't understand yesterday when it got into it. And for those watching, no, you can't go back to yesterday's show and see the comments because I deleted them. But people started calling each other names, and not playfully either. Because there's one thing to be playful about it, which is fine. But there's another to say, you're an idiot, you're stupid, rather can't you just say, I disagree. That's not what I'm seeing. Those are the same statements said politely versus why are you acting like that?
Exactly. And I think Kimberly is actually hitting on the right point here is that online, you're hiding behind your computer. People don't see you. You do things that are just abrasive and things that you normally would not do if you were sitting in front of that person. You just wouldn't. You would bite your tongue. You would say things that probably would be a bit more pleasant. Just pleasant.
My
keyboard
take,
warriors, yeah.
My take would be that you can blame most of this on social media.
Oh, 100%.
And the thing about social media, in my mind, is that it really should be named anti-social media because it gives people the opportunity, the anonymous bravado to say things that they would not say to most people face to face. There's that old adage that I remember my parents telling me, my mother telling me, if you don't have something nice to say about someone, don't say it at all. Okay? And all that meant was take a moment to think about what it is you're going to say. And if you're going to hurt somebody's feelings by saying it, then figure out a different way to say it so that you wouldn't hurt their feelings. And with social media, it has become to hell with people's feelings. Okay? F people's feelings.
Yeah.
And that's what it indicates to me is we've lost our humanity. Okay? I think I've said it in my headline. Being nice isn't a weakness. It is really strength. It requires strength on your part to think about how you're going to say something, how what you say is going to be taken. And God knows, I am one of the most opinionated assholes that plays on YouTube or anywhere.
Yeah.
But I'll think about what I'm going to say, and I'll think about how I'm going to say it, realizing that either way, I'm still going to piss some people off. But that's there's strength in taking an extra 30 seconds to figure out how you want to say what you want to say.
Yeah, and look, to agree and disagree simultaneously, which I'm really good at.
Yes.
Right, is there is something to be said with the respect of your feelings getting hurt is kind of your problem, but there, and there is a level of, you got to have a thick skin in the world and things, but there's also a level of, yeah, but you don't need to go out of your way to put people down either.
Right.
There's, yes, there are sensitive people out there. There's always been sensitive people out there. I don't know if there's more or less now than before, or if we just see it because social media, as Ray said, social media. But I knew a kid in school who would cry if you looked at him cross-eyed. He was a very sensitive person before social media. I just don't know if we just see him more or whatever it is. But there's no reason to go out of your way to do that, to hurt somebody, or just think about how you phrase it. Also, when you're being that vitriolic, here's the secret: nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody gives it. When you, like, I deleted some flat out racist comments. By the way, the fastest way to get banned from any of our channels is to make a single racist comment. There's no 1, 2, 3 strike on that, by the way.
Right.
You're out. You're gone. You'll never be allowed. I search your name on all of our channels. You can't even come over to any of them. I will ban you from all of our channels immediately. But why bother with those? Why would you go out and do that? I don't understand the point of making those kind of comments. What is it that those people are hoping to accomplish by that? What do you hope to accomplish when you put someone?
It's an insecurity, Justice. Part of it is in insecurities, and they feel like they need to get a rise out of someone, or they feel like that's the only way that they can actually have a conversation. Like, they need to just spew negativity and look for the reaction because they feel good about the reaction that they might potentially be getting.
Is the endorphins go up when you get the reaction, when you get
I would think that that's it. Because they want people to react.
Troll mentality. Yeah.
The question is, why do bullies bully?
Yeah.
That's
it.
And most bullies aren't bullying from a position of strength. It's typically a position of psychological weakness.
Yes.
That they need to do that they need to put others down so that they can then feel good about themselves. So, when you see those kind of comments, it's in many cases, it's because the person just feels so badly about themselves that they have to put somebody else down so that they might be able to feel good.
I mean, so I've lived long enough to know the things that people hate in others are the things that they most hate in themselves. Usually those who call you names think that about themselves. So they go out there and they look at that. That tends to be the most vitriolic hate that you see is, I don't like this in myself. So when I see it in you, I'm going to tear you down for it. I get that. And that's always been, and I do see a lot of people, well, it's the new age we're in. And I go, well, yes, I don't know that. I don't think it's a new age. If those who are familiar with the silence do good letters, there's Benjamin Franklin writing anonymously into the letters to the editor to get published in his brother's newspaper in order to make political points. Did it under a pseudonym so he could hide behind his keyboard. So I'm not sure that this is necessarily new. But I think the vitriol that we see up and down is newer for me. I don't know, maybe I'm just noticing it more now, but back in the day, I didn't see it as much as I see it these days, really since the pandemic. And I don't know if that's the pandemic put everybody on edge. Like social media has always kind of been a problem, but this is really far beyond what I'm used to seeing. You know, why can't we just disagree? Like Ray and I in person, we'll argue and we'll make everyone around us uncomfortable.
We did it at a dinner one night. Yeah.
But Ray and I were never uncomfortable.
No.
And nor did we lose any respect for each other. Nor did either one of us call each other names. We passionately disagree on certain things. But at no point am I going, Ray, you're just too old. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Right? Like that would just never come out of my mouth because I'm listening to the points. And I may argue the point in the moment, but also I may come back later and go, you know what? You made me think. And you might be right. And I know I've said this to Ray. There are times where I go, nah, we're past all that kind of stuff. Humanity's not that. You're living in the past. And then stuff happens and I go, damn it. Like, okay, Ray, you're right. You're right. Like maybe it's just wishful thinking on my part. And so tying it into EVs, not that we need to do that, but I see that a lot too. Is there's so much of this on both sides of it here's my political opinion, and I'm going to only speak to things that validate my political opinion about electric vehicles. Like, well, the electric vehicle doesn't care about your political opinion. Fact of them is the fact of them. Your tires aren't going to, need to be replaced in 7,000 miles. That's not reality. That is what you wish because you hate EVs. Your EV is not going to go 600 miles in the Michigan winter because you think they save the environment. It's not going to happen. It is what it is. The fact of them is the fact of them. It doesn't really matter that. But I see this in EV all the time where it's almost a vehicle based on political opinion and not drivetrain. And it's crazy to me.
If you look at some of the comments from yesterday's show, I catch so much. I am profiled as someone who hates EVs. Oh, it's just so obvious how much Ray hates. I don't hate EVs. I don't hate all EVs. Do I think some of them are like overpriced and kind of outrageous? Yeah, I do. Do I think that an EV might never be right for me because I drive about 3,000 miles a year? Yeah, I do. But that doesn't mean that I hate people that drive EVs or that I hate when I see an EV. I am, and I've said this before, I was so amazed at the software and the technology that was in that Tesla that we drove when we were all together in Detroit. I wasn't impressed with the Tesla itself, the ride of it, or the quality of it, but I was over the moon about its capabilities, and so I don't know how that makes me as somebody. Well, Ray just obviously hates EVs. I don't.
That's another insecurity type of comment that people want to get in here because they don't know anything about the topic probably, and then if you're going to say something negative about it, they're going to assume that's your take on the whole thing, and then want to just hound on that without really doing some homework and understanding who you really are, what you really think about it, and looking at all of the information that you put out there in regards to a certain topic. And then, hey, guess what? Use your brain and then put it together to be able to understand what a person's real perception is or take on a certain product or something or whatever, right? Like people just want to take that one little thing, that one thing said, and decide, oh, you said something negative about an EV. That means you're just completely negative. You hate EVs. There's nothing that you want anything to do with.
And there have been any number of times where you guys have heard me defend certain things about EVs.
You have.
or say, no, that's nonsense. That's some of the propaganda that we hear.
And propaganda on both sides. And that, and everyone needs, look, every side has two sides, as they say. And that's what I think you were getting at, Phil, and what I can speak to me. So I'm not in anybody else's head. I don't know how to read minds. I don't know if y'all know that, but I have no idea how to read other people's minds. So I can only speak for what's in my head.
You wouldn't be here right now. I can tell you that much.
and what I see in others that sort of correlates with what I see. And I see a lot of knee-jerk reaction. I try not to do that normally. Although Phil, I think, knows that I have a tendency to do this sometimes. Phil, probably more than anybody, knows that I have a tendency to knee-jerk reactions, but in private, not in public. And I'll fly off the handle and I'll spew, and then give me 5 minutes, and I'll be like, well, maybe not. Maybe I was a little, reactionary, and I do that. I do that with EVs because, look, we get bombarded with the EV haters all the time. Who say these just dumb, outrageous things. And, sometimes there'll be an article written by blogger X that says this. And you're just like, well, that's just literally not true. And I get it's hard to sift through what is true and is not true. The danger of having all of man's knowledge at your fingertips is not all of it's true. And you have to try to figure out. So for me, on the EV topic, at least, like I own one, so I know the realities of that part of it. And I talk to other EV people all the time who own their vehicles, and we compare and we talk and stuff. So, sort of some of this anti stuff, but I find myself pushing back. If Ray says EVs are too damn expensive, I go, no, Ray, the Model 3 is not too expensive. You're being ridiculous. But you know what? Most EVs are way more than that, right? Most EVs are well over $60,000. So Ray's not wrong. I have my knee jerk of, I'm so tired of the false BS being propagated and I know the same is on the other side. Oh, EVs are going to save the world and save the planet and blah, 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 blah. And, you get into it. Well, you know what? Guess what? The mining of lithium, not good for the planet. Go figure. So the other side gets equally as knee-jerk reaction. If you say anything positive about it, like, hey, look, I save a lot of money on gas and maintenance, and I really like it, and it's great. Oh, but it's bad for the environment, blah, blah, blah. And, then I go, well, when have you cared about the environment before now? But whatever it is, like, I think there's a lot of knee-jerk, and we all sort of need to stop and take a breath and think about what we're saying. Like you said, like Ray, because I know Ray is not, you're not pro EV, but I don't think you're anti EV at all.
No.
I think you're like a lot of us. I am pro EV, but like a lot of us, you're anti mandate.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And yes, I know I'm using that word wrong. There are no mandates. But
it certainly seems like
they feel like they feel like mandates.
Yes,
and that's what matters. The perception is what matters, right? That's what everyone
perception
feels.
is reality.
That's what perception, right?
Yep.
I've said it before.
When I sent Zach off to college, when I sent him off to Pitt, the only advice I should have given him the advice of don't use fake IDs to buy alcohol. I should have given him that advice, but I did not.
Well, you can't use your real ID.
Well, no, because then he couldn't.
Yeah, right. Come on.
But the advice that I gave him was, before you say anything, take an extra 5 or 10 seconds to think about how that is going to be heard by those that you say it to, and decide if that's actually the way you want to say it. Just that's all. Just take an extra 5 seconds, extra 10 seconds, and so that you can make sure that you're not going to piss somebody off. You're not going to end up in a fight, because you were just be more careful with how you say things, more thoughtful. I don't even think the word's careful. I think thoughtful about how you say it. And that was literally the only real piece of advice that I gave him. Because there's a tendency to speak and then think about it. And you know, I'd like to believe that we're better off if we think about it before we speak it.
Ray, if I thought about things before I said them,
yes,
I would never say anything.
Well, no, you would. It would just take you a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, it you know, it definitely is thoughtful, but also for me, it gets a lot into what is the point of what you're about to say? What do you want to get out of what you want to say?
Mhm.
I don't know if you know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is. Most
Sure.
people do. He has a great story about a friend of his who was, I don't know if he said friend, an acquaintance, the person that he knew was a flat Earth person.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'll be convinced, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. So Neil deGrasse Tyson said, well, here's some calculations, here's some pictures, here's some stuff. And he presented it to the guy, and the guy said, well, NASA could just be faking all that. And so Neil deGrasse Tyson said, well, so we just stopped talking about that because it was clear he didn't want to learn anything. He didn't want to know anything. He wasn't open to changing his mind. So, you know, there is a big portion of a lot of this in the civil discourse of why am I trying to fight it? You know, I get sucked in just like everybody else.
Sure.
I try not to read social media comments because I can end up down at that level instead of pulling anybody up, you know, not necessarily to my level because I'm down on theirs. But you know, I get to the point of what would be the point of me making this interaction? Like if they're not going to listen to me, is it at that point, is it just for me to feel better about myself and my opinion? Is my opinion is my opinion. I feel like I'm well educated in it. Not always right, but like I don't need someone to school me either. So what do you want to get out of the interaction of the comment you're about to say is what I get. So, and if it's to make yourself feel better, but it might, you know, upset the other person, then why bother? What's the,
You know, and in some situations you could just say, hey, I don't necessarily agree with what you think, but I'm pretty sure that I can't convince you of what I think. So why don't we just agree that we can disagree on this one?
Yeah.
It doesn't make
novel
you
concept.
Yeah, it doesn't make you a bad person. You know, I will say this. I oftentimes think to myself when I read things that people say or I hear things that people say, I'll often think to myself, do they ever listen to themselves? You know, if they actually heard themselves say it, what would they then think?
Or if someone else said it word for word what they just said, how would they react to that? So I have this thing with, you know, to get a little personal, I have this debate with my mother.
Okay.
On Facebook of all places.
Yes.
she and I are politically opposed to each other.
Okay.
We love each other dearly, and it doesn't hurt our relationship, but we're pretty far apart on the political spectrum. And she'll say things, oh, look at this. She said the other day, what it was, I'm going to get political for a minute, but that's what we're talking about. So she said, look at how hateful Donald Trump is. Look at all this stuff. He's the Antichrist. He's horrible. He's awful. His followers are stupid, ignorant people, and I can't believe that people support him. And I said, that is the most hate-filled speech, speaking out against hate and putting down literally 50% of the country. Like, I'm not necessarily a Donald Trump supporter, but like, how are you so filled with hate calling out hate? Like, what do you hope to accomplish by that? You're not swaying anyone who's independent. You're not swaying any Donald Trump supporter to go, oh yeah, you're right.
No.
He's full of hate. Now, like, I believe you now. So what are you convincing the people that already agree with you? Like, what was the point? So I had to ask her. I was like, first off, has hate ever solved hate? I can't
Never
believe
does.
that was.
Just keeps it going.
Secondly, and she kind of responded, well, look at all the stuff he's saying. And I had to say, you know, what's ironic about this whole argument is my mother taught me not to point to bad behavior to justify bad behavior. So I found that with great irony that had come through. Because it was just like, look, this, at some point you have to be the one to just take the hate out of it. I don't want to say raise up and be better, because I also don't like that attitude. I'm better than you, so I'm gonna, like, you're not better than anybody. You're also not worse than anybody. I don't care who you are. You have better qualities and worse qualities than every human being on earth. But someone has to stop the hate and go, okay, well, you know, as Gandhi said, and yes, we can talk about lots of negatives about Gandhi too, but, you know, be the change you want to see in the world. And if you think somebody, Biden, Trump, whoever the next guy is, Bush, Reagan, Clinton, Carter, whatever it is, whoever that person that you hate is, if you think they're that bad, then be better than that. Mm-hmm. Don't be what you think that person is. It's just, I don't understand that thinking. And I had it when I was in my 20s. So, but I look back now and I go, why?
I will tell you that part of this probably, Justice, is the amount of hate that we see coming from our media outlets, from our whoever is trying to spread that knowledge, information, whatever it is, right? It's always taken a hateful narrative. And so, you know, if you're constantly being hit with it, and that's all that you're focused on, that's going to be you, right? You're going to go out there and you're going to tell people, and you're going to perpetuate that hateful speech.
Right. And we have, and I think Ray's pointed us out before too. I believe, Ray, you said the worst invention was cable, period. Not even news, just cable television. I believe you said.
Yeah, that no longer. Yeah, the two worst inventions of mankind are social media and cable TV. Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, look, we live in echo chambers now. So, you know, whatever your political opinion, you can go to the cable news channel that's going to fit that. You can look at the news sites that are going to fit your narrative. You can listen to the radio station. Well, maybe, depending where you live, you can listen to a radio station that fits your point of view. You know, and you can just live into that bubble, and that's how you think it is. And to your point, Phil, yeah, what drives all of those? It's money. What gets money? Look, we are as guilty of that as anybody, right? We do our clickbait, hyperbolic headlines. And why? Because I can tell you, just the thumbnails that I do on this show, the more negative and dark I go, literally dark as in theme and also on the thumbnail itself, actual dark, the higher viewers and the more ratings we get. That's what draws people in. And I hate it. So you see some of my thumbnails I use a lot of like light blues now, and I'm more happier about it. And let's talk about that. And you know what? We don't get the views in those. We literally aren't getting the clicks and views. And so, you know, there is something that I do, and you probably guys don't know this, but when I debate on what we're going to do on the show and how I address it, I fight against myself, because I really don't I go with the negative to get the views, but I'm never really that negative in person. Like that's just not how my mind works anymore. I would really love to come on here and let's talk about the happy stuff and all the great stuff that's happening. Because let's be honest, there are more good than bad things that happen in the world every single day. And we just choose to ignore those. We choose not to talk about those. People don't want to tune in to watch it.
Nope.
They want to tune in to hear
it's not good news, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not any type of news that's going to generate people watching, right? Because it's not like tragic and you just need to. Yeah.
You don't see a headline that says man walks down street with smile on his face.
Yeah. But Ray, imagine if they did change their mindset and they all started to do it. People would start to. Yeah. Justice.
So I will say this, and to your point, and to counter what Ray says, I subscribe to 2 online news services. One is called 1440, where there is absolutely no bias other than there is a bias in choosing what stories to cover and which ones not to cover. So there is that. But other than that, there's no bias to the reporting. It just is what it is, and there's no narrative to it. And the other one is called Good News. And I get both of those. So I read the Good News one every day.
Good for
every
you.
single day. And it's all about good
Nice.
news. And I need to get it. And to that point of, I found out about the Good News one because I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in Australia. And I was actually talking about this guy down here, Mr. Phil, and how he is one of the most positive and upbeat and just great guys that I've ever met. And he's always tries to look for the bright side. And even when he disagrees with something, he tries to find that and look that. And I was saying, look, I need to be more like that. I sure would like to view the world that way and be more like Phil, because I've done the depressed, angry thing. I did that. It didn't work for me.
I perfected that for a while.
I perfected the asshole for a long, long time. Like I truly did. Like I have 2 ex-wives, and I assure you that my divorces were not either one of their faults.
Okay.
I had 100% perfected the egotistical asshole. Like at one point in my life, my biggest fictional role model was Gregory House from the TV show House.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted to be like.
Oh, really?
Truly. Right? So I totally perfected that. Oddly enough, did not do wonders for my life. I was in an industry also I hated every second of. Every day I went to work for 30 years, I hated every second that I was at work. So none of that worked for me. So once I got out of that, especially when I found Zach, who's also just one of the most positive, upbeat guys I've met. And then I get Phil on top of that. And I'm just like, maybe there's a better way to life than being angry and mean all the time.
Yeah.
So, I've been working on myself for quite a few years and trying to do that. And so for me, I do read the Good News, literally goodnews.com stuff. I try
Never
to
even knew that existed.
Yeah.
Never
And you know
even
what? They're fun stories, and there's a lot of stuff in there about humans helping humans.
But could you imagine if just someone grabbed a hold of these type of outlets and really started to put it out there and really put that kind of stuff into people's face on a regular basis? Guess what? Over time, it's going to be the stuff that are going to bring the ratings. It's going to be the stuff that people are going to want to see.
Yeah.
You keep pushing it out there. You push the good stuff. People are going to want it.
I agree. I think now, especially, I think more and more people are looking for hope. And yes, hope is not a strategy, but it is a good feeling that can help you get through the day and get through life. And because things are hard, we're not saying that things aren't hard, that there's not bad things that happen. There's how many wars going on in the world right now? 2021, I had realized the U.S. had been at war for 20 years straight. And that was a mind blower. That was really one of the things that I started questioning my worldview on. Was I never thought of America as a war country. Like, no, we don't go out and, we're not aggressive and evil and go out and go to war with everyone. We're at war for 20 straight years. Like, I just kind of went, okay, well, maybe I need to step back and rethink my positions and things and look at reality. Not that I think America's evil, but we were at war for 20 years too. So there are the things that are hard to deny, and you got to look at that and go, who's in control, who's in power, who's leading what, and maybe we don't need the most aggressive guy. Maybe we don't also need the guy you want to have a beer with either. Maybe we need somebody just pragmatic in there. I don't know who that is. It's your political opinion on who that should be. But the world needs to change. And needs to be this civil discourse. And what we saw yesterday from people when it devolved, and it devolves like this mainly, Ray, when you and Zach talk EVs.
Yes.
And that's crazy to me as an EV lover, as someone who hosts this show, someone who puts this together. It's insane to me that's because all the EV owners I know are really nice, decent people like Igor. Like, I don't see Igor out there calling people names. Like, he's not on our stream going, "You're stupid."
You know what's amazing? Yesterday when Zach and I were trying to come up with what's the show about?
Yeah.
And there was an article I sent him about EVs, and he goes, when we do an EV show, we don't get the views. It doesn't go well. And it's so true. For whatever reason, it brings out the extremes
on both sides.
Yes. And so I get why Zach doesn't like to broach the subject on the main channel, on the Ray and Zach channel. I get it. Because it just brings out ugliness from everybody, from every quarter. And it's like, man, and just because I have an opinion, or you have an opinion, or Phil has an opinion, and whether you agree with that opinion or not, doesn't mean you have to be nasty. It just means you disagreed.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is
you have
fine.
a slightly different
How
opinion.
about just respecting each other's opinions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because you know that everyone is entitled to have their own opinion. And more times than not, it may not align with yours. It's fine. I mean, just be nice to each other. We don't need to criticize people based on their opinions and whatnot, because at the end of the day, that's all that they are. But yet we focus so heavily around people's opinions and want to hurt them because of it.
Yeah. I like this quote, trade with all, side with none. It absolutely. And it gets like this every time Ray and Zach do EV. Yes, social media has killed respect. But it's the weird thing about the EVs is what it does is it brings out the politics in everyone. Like I said, EV is a vehicle where you buy with your political opinion. People buy Tesla because they think they're saving the world. People don't buy Tesla because they hate Elon Musk. Weird. That's weird to me. You are absolutely entitled to do whatever you want to do. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but be it a car or ice cream, I've never been one to care what the CEO's political opinion is on whether I buy that or not. I personally don't care. Now, there are exceptions, as Ray has pointed out to me before. There are people who come out and maybe might be pretty anti-Semitic, and you say, hey, maybe I don't want to do business with that company. And that. Okay, that is absolutely, you're right. Now, if you yourself are anti-Semitic, maybe you want to buy more from that company. I don't know. I don't know. But But for me, I'm not one who just looks at. I just don't even. For me, I don't know why we're in the age of the celebrity CEO. I don't understand this age we're in either. CEOs didn't used to be celebrities. This is the Lee Iacocca effect, I think.
Yeah.
Could be.
Because before him, like nobody, who,
and perhaps this is going to sound odd, and so I'll try and think about it before I say it, but perhaps CEOs shouldn't run for political office. And here's the reason I say that. Many times you'll hear somebody say, I've been a successful businessman and it's time we run the government like a business. Well, let me just help with one thing. Government isn't business.
Yes, government doesn't produce anything. So how do you run it like a business?
Exactly. And so maybe when you try and put those type of attributes onto government that you would utilize, that's not a recipe for success. So it's a different mindset than what it takes to actually govern and to run a government for the people, by the people.
I remember when politicians used to be farmers. They didn't run businesses. So that's what it was. And I agree. Look, as someone who most of my life, I think we're talking that I've grown in my life, but most of my life was very much about, let's get some business in there. Let's get that. Then, you think about it for more than 2 seconds and you go, yeah, but government isn't a business. They don't produce things. Now, should they be more productive? Should they have less waste? Of course.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah, we can all agree on that. Look, I live in California. I have people who work at the DMV here. I could tell you stories about the waste that goes in there.
Correct. But also let's talk about the money, right? Like the government gets money coming in, revenue, right? And they're spending money. So
they take your money to tell you how to spend it. Yeah.
Right. And let's be in huge deficits and so in part of like running like a business, like fiscally being able to be fiscally sound.
Yeah.
In a government, you kind of need that.
Yeah, don't give me a CEO in the White House. Give me a CFO in the White House.
There you go.
Maybe that would be someone who just knows how to manage the money.
Yep.
I don't need them to make the money. I just need them not in government. I just need them to be able to manage the money appropriately. I think that'd be better. But Phil, I know you got to go. You have a meeting with the big guy upstairs.
I do.
Would that be my son?
That would be your son.
Your son, God, whichever way you want to call it. We have internal names that we're required to call him. I'm just going to leave it at
that. Oh my! Well, I have no idea what those names are that he insists upon. Nor do I want to know.
So Phil, we'll let you have the parting comments because I know you got to go, and then Ray and I can wrap up after you go.
Just be nice to each other. Find a way to be nice to each other. That's it.
I like that.
It's hard to do. I know it's hard to do, but always try to find the good in somebody and what they're saying. If you can't agree, bite your tongue, say something constructive, and just be nice. Just be nice to each other. Because hate and being mean to each other doesn't get you anywhere. That's what I'm going to say.
And
I agree.
And I will say, being nice doesn't cost; it pays.
That's right. That's right. How much does it cost to be hateful, though?
A lot.
It does.
You give up you give up your own self-respect.
That's right. No, it costs you. I can tell you, it costs you a lot in your health. I will tell you that.
That I will agree with.
It costs you a lot, as I'm going through now. It costs you a lot in your health to be angry and mean for most of your life. It really, truly does. And once you give that up, you know, you may still have to deal with some of those consequences as you go through.
True.
So,
All right.
bye, Phil.
See you guys. Ray,
Good seeing you,
Justice,
Phil.
everybody else. See ya. Have a great weekend.
You too. Have fun on the game on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Go
go
Lions.
Lions.
Yes. All right. Bye, guys.
See you,
Bye,
Phil.
So Ray, I like Ray, because we have talked in person and off the air, and you know, the reason this show got started was because we can debate each other, we can talk to each other, and not once has either one of us ever called anyone a name. I mean, I would never call my boss's dad a name, but even irregardless of that, I just like it never gets to a personal disrespect. And I don't really understand what the point of being disrespectful is. It is, I mean, I guess it's just to make yourself feel better, but does that make you feel better? I will tell you again from an experience of probably around 30 years of experience, it does not. It does not make you feel better.
You know, we do not agree on everything.
No.
Hell, there's a lot of things we don't agree on. When we don't agree, it doesn't make me think any less of you. And when we do agree, it doesn't make me think any more of you.
Yes. So I've seen that happen. I have actually seen that happen before, where if you agree with someone, they all of a sudden like you a lot more. And it was like, well, that's not relevant. Actually, I will say this, Ray. Somehow, not necessarily on purpose, but almost none of my friends agree with me. I pick people who don't agree with me. I enjoy hanging out with people who don't agree with me and who can broaden my horizons and my scope and my worldview and make me think, like you have so many times when we've talked. And then I go and I think and I go, okay, well, maybe I got to re-examine the issue, you know, especially things where I hold tight to. Like, I'm always open to hear a different opinion. What I don't need to hear is my opinion.
It's already your opinion.
That one.
Yeah. It's already yours. Now that's I never try, when I have conversations with people, I never try and make it personal. They're just conversations.
You know what?
They're just conversations. That's it. That's just, you know, and when you know, the Israeli-Gaza war broke out, and I told you the story about how one of my friends reached out to me just because he thought it was a tough time to be a Jew, and he wanted me to know that he loved me regardless of the fact that I was a Jew, which caused me to reach out to someone that I knew who was a Palestinian. And you know, because I just wanted him to know that I was thinking of him and that it's a tough time to be a Palestinian.
Yeah. I'm not sure when it was a easy time to be either one of those, by the way.
Well, you know, from what I've been able to gather, especially for Jews, it's never been a good time to be a Jew.
Yeah, it did not seem like it.
So, but the point is that you just have to respect everybody. You don't have to agree with everybody.
No,
but you have to respect them and respect that they can have their opinion, which could be different than your opinion. And you know, my dear friend Glenn, who was the one who called me. I mean, Glenn and I, you know, politically, we are so far apart. But there isn't a conversation that we ever have where it doesn't end with, Glenn, I just want you to know I love you. Or Glenn will say, Ray, I want you to know I love you. And we agree on so little things, but yet we agree that we care deeply about each other. And our worth.
Yeah, and do you really disagree on so many things? I bet you guys agree on twice as much as you disagree.
Probably.
Just nobody talks about those things.
Yes.
I said this for a long time. Like I'm old enough. I use terms such as a Reagan Democrat or a Kennedy Republican, and and those kind of terms. And the thing about those is they sort of point out that there was a time where we acknowledged, and I think it's still true. We just don't acknowledge it now, that we agree on far more than we disagree on, and we take that 10%, 15% that we disagree on, and man, do we amp that up. And again, it just ignores so much that, like, we agree. Like Igor says here, he and I have gotten into it a couple times. We don't agree on everything, but we have respect. I respect the hell out of Igor and everything he does and how he helps so many people. Like, we've had disagreements, but I've never been like, don't talk to me. Let's never, I don't want to hear from you and you're banned from this. And that never happened because 85% of everything we agree on. He's a good person. We may not see eye to eye on everything. We haven't lived the same life, but he's a good person even when we disagree on it. And that's so much of this gets personal too. Like, oh, you're stupid and you're horrible because you don't agree with me. Like, what is that? You can passionately disagree with someone who's a good person.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just we just shouldn't get so wrapped up in our hatred towards our differences.
Yes.
And we should embrace the love of the things that bring us together. This will be a terrible thing to say, but we live in what is an extremely divided country at the moment, and has been for, I don't know, the last 8 years or so.
Well, I think 2000 was pretty divided too.
Yeah,
so I would say, you remember that election?
Yes, but I mean, it's in my mind, it's gotten uglier over the last 8 years than I could actually really remember. But I will say this, that nothing would make us forget those differences if someone attacked our country, that it would bring us all together again as a nation, and we would put aside our differences or what our perceived differences are, and we would do the things that we as a nation know we should do. Instead of concentrating on the few things that aggravate the hell out of us, we should celebrate the many things that bring us all together. And that is where I think we're missing out.
I agree.
We just want to concentrate on the negative instead of on the positive.
And we need to discuss the things that we disagree about. We need to find compromises, absolutely. Yes. But that doesn't mean that should be our only focus. That is certainly what Congress's job is to do, is to discuss the things that we disagree about and make their ways and make their compromises. I think that is somehow a dirty word these days, compromise.
Yes.
Or compromise is we're going to offer something that is completely out of the realm of reality so we get everything we want as we compromise. Like, those kind of tricks and stuff get played, and you're just like, what is the point of that? Like, but yes, the rest of us need to be concentrating on the stuff that brings us together. And you said someone attacks our country. There's a couple books that I've read where the theory was an alien invasion. That unites literally the entire planet, right?
Yes.
I think Independence Day, right? The Will Smith movie.
Yes.
The entire planet unites when there's a threat against us, and we're able to put all that down and put all that aside. And there is something to say, how privileged we are that we can fight about the silly things that we fight about and get so worked up over them because we don't have to worry about real problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but yes, I know. I knew that would get you, Kimberly. That Kimberly loves nothing more than aliens. But when we talk about civil discourse, some of the comments that Kimberly gets, you've watched her videos, Ray.
Yes.
Would you think there could be a negative comment on Kimberly's videos?
Not
Would you
really.
think there could be anything that anyone could say that would be negative on those videos? And some of the comments that come through, you're just like, what? Like, why would you? These are people who are looking to be, I don't know, they're looking to be angry. They just are.
They
angry.
are angry.
They're out there and they're angry and life. And somehow I think they think people owe them for their hatred and their anger. And so they just want to go out there and they want to punch people. And I don't get that, not physically, hopefully.
Yeah.
Verbally. It's just, I don't get it.
Haters gotta hate. It's just that simple. You know, I mean, it sounds stupid to say it, but it really is that simple.
Debate.
It's the hate that fuels them until one day that fuel source burns out. And then they look around and they go, oh man, I was really screwing this up all those years.
Well, yeah. So, it's eliciting a reaction, looking for a reaction. And I tell you, as someone who was good at debating, and like I said, I was angry for many years of my life. When I got the reaction, it just escalated more and more and more, and nothing ever got solved. So I don't know what I was doing. I mean, I guess I was just looking for, as we've said here, misery loves company. And I was just looking you needed to be as miserable as I was, I guess. was my thought. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not the way to go through anything. And I don't always understand. And when you start going after like Kimberly on her channel, she's the nicest, most innocuous channel that there is on YouTube. There's this, I don't know what you could find hateful about anything she says. And yet some people find a way to go in there and, and call names. And I'm like, what are you, hey, Kimberly, you need to give me access to ban people on your channel, by the way. I'll just go through all your comments and I'll just go away. But I don't understand that, because when you can being mean to me is easy, right? I'm opinionated, I'm loud, I'm not afraid to speak out. I say stupid stuff. I was wrong once in 1989, so you can pick on that. But being mean to me is easy. Being mean to Kimberly,
you got to work at it.
And I've seen people do that on the live streams with Mario too.
Yeah.
I'm like, how are you picking on the nicest human beings that there are who just don't even have any negativity in them? They're not even giving opinions. They're just stating facts and numbers and how things work, and you just blow up at them. And I'm always like, what is going on?
It is.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm guessing Ray's battery died. So we will wrap it up here. Thank you, everyone, for being involved today. Thank you for bearing with us on this non-EV show. Oh, here's Ray. He's back.
I don't know what I did. I apologize.
Did you hit it? I thought your battery died. I thought for sure. I was like, okay, well.
That's today's show.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Ray went to lunch. Ray just went, I need a sandwich. And now.
Well,
right.
It was a quick bite. Oh, well. Well, I do need to actually go to the food store. So.
The food store. That's right. That's what you call a grocery store over there.
I have my shopping bags sitting on the counter waiting to get done so I can run over to the Acme and pick up a few items that I need.
I believe it is called Acme.
It is, if you're a true Philadelphian, even though it's spelled ACME, okay, and it is legitimately pronounced Acme. If you're from Philadelphia, somehow it becomes Acme. There's an extra A in there. And in the old days, with cameras that weren't digital, you would, after you filled up your roll of pictures, you would say, I gotta take my film to the Acme to get it developed. Because it wasn't just film, it was film.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah, I guess Suzanne said they call it Acme.
Okay. In Philadelphia, it's the Acme. I'm sorry. Just is what it is.
Well, thank you for having this discussion with me, Ray.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
We'll
Thank you for
week.
you for suggesting it after yesterday's show.
Yeah, I think we need to recenter as a people and try to be kinder, even especially when we disagree. Not even, especially when we disagree. Let's be kinder about that. So thank you everyone for tuning in here today. I know we wouldn't talk about EVs. We'll talk about it next week and how Tesla's stock fell 10% in one day, as it's done in the past, and then it always comes back up. But if you want me to talk about that, we'll talk about that. I'll try to find something extremely negative and clickbaity and wrong for next week's title. So we'll talk about that then.
Well, terrific. I'll see you back here next Friday.
All right, we'll see you.
I'll talk to you later, Justice.
Bye, everybody.